Hello, Dan. How are you doing today?
Hey, Caleb, I'm glad to be here. Just really excited to continue our conversation. And what'd you bring us together here for here today?
Earlier we did your top five favorite Game of Thrones theories. So today we're going to do mine. And before I go into this, I do want to ask you, where did you get the theories from? So, like, when I got into Game of Thrones and I started watching theories and stuff like that, I basically just watched The Last Harpy. Um, and I know there's a bunch of other people out there, Alt Swift X, and then there's another one that sounds similar. I can't remember the name. But
Yeah,
where did you
yeah,
get yours?
yeah. So we all get them mostly from the same few places. I would say if you're really committed to learning about some of the theories, you want to start off with the A Song of Ice and Fire subreddit. That's where a lot of the book goers go. That's where the top
Absolutely.
rated comments are, top rated theories are, and that's how you're really going to get caught up with the fandom fast. There are a couple of really good theory videos out there. If you haven't heard about a lot of them, I know a couple of YouTubers by the name of Alt Shift X is his usual name, and he's made like a more fun account called Alt Swift X. That's like who
Okay.
he streams as. So it's the same person. And he's a
Right.
funny
Right.
guy. And then he's friends with a gentleman named Glidus, Glidus. He has really funny takes on Game of Thrones. They're really well in tuned with like the Reddit community, some of the more older forums that are still out there that are still really good. Like, there's another guy. There are some of the original theory crafters from Reddit who have like some of the best theories are YouTubers themselves. So there's gentlemen like Preston Jacobs, who's a controversial figure in the fan community because he has a lot of hot takes. Not hot takes. He tells everybody, he's probably wrong about half the things. He's just doing it for
Mhm.
fun. People take him too seriously because he's just trying to get some answers. But he's also took it on upon himself to start writing the ending himself because he's just tired of waiting for it.
Oh, of
But
course.
then there's other gentlemen like his name is David Lightbringer, and he's one of the guys who came up with one of the biggest theories. We'd have to cover it in a whole different video. It has a lot to do with like the beginning times, the end times, what it's going to look like, why things are off. The main crux of his theory is that there used to be two moons, and that's why the planets are all messed up. That's where the dragons came from. The dragons were meteorites that were cracked by blood magic rituals. But anyway, it gets all crazy. So,
It sounds
but
a
yeah,
lot like some of the stuff that Nanny, what's her name, used to say. Some of the
old
stories that
Nan,
their
yeah,
nanny, old Nan would
yeah.
say.
Yeah, exactly. Some stuff like that. A lot of it's from the world of Ice and Fire. Some of the stuff from the East thinks he gets played into it a lot. There's something that's a controversial thing that some people think is like either detriment is going to be like of great value and consequence to the end of the books, or it means nothing at all and it's just like it's not worth paying any attention to. It's called the Great Empire of the Dawn. It's like before Valyria, a long time before. It's like really old stuff in the theory in the world of Ice and Fire of Song of Ice and Fire. Um, there's a lot there I could unpack, but so there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on in the community still. I would say it's actually probably the thing that's the most valuable to me out of all of Song of Ice and Fire is how fun the theories have become over the years. Like almost glad the no, I can't say that. Glad the books didn't come out. Finish the books, please, Mr. Martin.
Yes, please.
But yeah, there's a great depth of resources there for like from the Song of Ice and Fire subreddit to a bunch of stuff on YouTube. There's tons of channels. There's Quinn the Quinn the GM, and then there's Joe Magician is also good. Preston Jacobs, Alt Shift, David Lightbringer. Yeah, tons of stuff to catch up on. Alt Shift probably has the best. Like he has a lot of good best images.
Hmm. You mean like
So
thumbnails?
thumbnails, but like the way he does his video is like a lot
Yeah.
of like image based, like almost like a PowerPoint, but it's bigger than that. So you don't
Okay.
get it's not just somebody
Oh, yeah, I know
talking.
you're.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Um. Okay, so most of my theories, actually, I think maybe all of them, actually came basically just from watching The Last Harpy. I got deep. Like I could, I I remember we'd sit in class, in our contracts class, and we'd go through these things, and I'd just sit there and be like, "No, but what about this?" And it'd be a lot like that Pepe Sylvia scene in Always Sunny. And
Oh yeah.
so I think my fifth favorite theory actually goes all the way back to the very first episode. And we kind of got a little bit of it in the second episode of season 8. And it was the symbols. The symbols that the White Walkers appeared to really like. In that very first episode, we get that scene. In fact, I'm going to pull it up. So, in that very first episode, we get that really creepy scene with all the dead bodies.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
right here. You see this eye. This comes from Bazaar, whatever that is, Harper's Bazaar. You see this eye right here, and I mean, I think it's an eye. That's what I kind of thought it was. And then in season 3, the episode 3, this was after the battle at the Fist of the First Men, I believe.
Yeah.
And you saw all of them lined up in this spiral. And clearly there just had to be a reason behind that, because the very first time you see whites and walkers is when Sam is hiding in the snow, basically, and they just completely ignore him and just walk right on by. So it doesn't appear to be they almost appear to be intelligent to a point. So clearly there's a purpose behind this. And then, of course, we saw in the second episode of, all right, actually, this says it was the season 8 premiere. So I guess it was the season 8 premiere. We saw more symbols. And that was the first time we'd seen, I want to say, any sign of intelligence from the whites since that episode of season 3. And that was just, I remember watching that and being completely freaked out, especially when young Ned Ubba, opens his eyes and starts attacking him. But yeah, that I always thought we were going to get something more out of these symbols. And unfortunately, we never did.
Yeah, it definitely was something of a letdown for sure. Like, we definitely thought there was going to be something cool going on there, and even up until the end of season 8, where the little kid died up in the other, like the last hearth, the Umber seat. Yeah, he just it just didn't mean anything, or at least didn't get explained. Maybe they were like, we're going to explain it in a different show or something. I don't
Yeah, I was really disappointed. So my fourth favorite theory, I actually think it got taken from some other stuff, but I'm not really into anime. There's one anime that I watched. It's called Vinland Saga. Everything else, I've tried a couple. I'm just not into it. And one theory that I think came out of Attack on Titan was that there would actually be a dragon buried in the wall, and the horn would wake the dragon, and he would break down the wall. So I was really looking forward to that. And I think that comes kind of more out of the books, because they're looking for that. Mance Rayder keeps looking for that horn. You'll know the name of it. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, it's Jorah Munn's horn,
Yeah.
and its legend is that they'll break down the wall.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know if there's a lot of connection to a dragon necessarily doing it. There's legends of a dragon in the bottom of Winterfell. That's a different theory in the books because it has a warm spring. So they're like, what's there? Nobody knows how far down the depths of the crypts go, and there's like places that are blocked off you can't get to. So people think that there's like a dragon down there or something. But then it's like how it's eaten. So yeah, I mean it's definitely possible like that it would have developed a theory of like, there could be a dragon in the wall.
Yeah. But I always, I just kind of, it always seemed to be kind of a cool theory to me that I don't really remember there being a lot of like supporting evidence or anything, but it seemed to be one of those things that Game of Thrones gave us some really amazing footage, and I always thought seeing that would be a really cool thing.
Yeah, like an ice dragon waking up in the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so my next two theories involve my favorite character. He's not my favorite character in the entire show, but my favorite character, and it's Ned Stark. So the first theory had to do with the fact that Starks are all, to a point, wargs. And that Ned had actually, when he was getting beheaded, you can see him speaking, but we don't actually know what he says. Um, and the theory had been that he had been uttering something that would allow him to warg into something. And the something that the theory chooses is the ravens that we see fly away that Arya actually looks up and sees instead of the beheading. And I love Ned. I always wanted to see some sort of triumphant return, and that that always kind of gave me hope, especially since reminding everyone, I start in the middle of season 7, so think about the whole story up until the destruction of the baggage train, or the destruction of the Lannister army. So all of that has happened for me already. So watching all that and then learning these theories, my thought was, well, of course he is. Why else would the three-eyed raven have been calling to Bran? Of course he warged into the ravens. He became, one with the three-eyed raven and told him to call his son. Whole bunch of, smoke and mirrors and, BS, probably, if you really think down and think about it critically. But it just seemed to be one of those things that was just kind of a fun theory that kind of kept this hope of Ned returning alive. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've seen that theory floating around for a while now that he warged out of there at the last second and he
Mm-hmm.
was floating around. I mean, that's the thing about it, man. Is like it's in the books. That's what's fun. Is like it's never nothing's. Unfortunately, nothing's definitive. So, I'm sure there's a whole community of people who think that he's warped into that and somehow he's been influencing events. But it's cool. It's cool. There's a theory that the cat that's floating around the Red Keep is the warged cat of the princess that died, of the Targaryens and the Dornish, the princess that was killed by the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a cat, so people think that maybe she was able to somewhere down the line maybe warg into it, but because it just behaves funnily, it's like it really hates the Lannisters and stuff, so it makes sense. But you never
Yeah.
know.
So, second theory, and this kind of plays piggyback with my first favorite theory. It'll go back and forth between, but right now my second favorite theory is that while in the black cells, a faceless man realized how important Ned Stark was and allowed him to assume his identity. I absolutely love this theory, and I always thought it made perfect sense. Why else does Jaqen just seem to instantly start bonding with Arya? Why is he nice to her? No one else from the Black Sails is nice to her. Why does he try to protect her in what you call it, Harrenhal? Why does he
Well,
give her
because
the
she saved him from the fire that was going to
right,
kill him, so she
right?
broke
But
open the.
why does he give her the iron coin? Why does he give her several tries in the house? What's the name of the house?
That's the black and white.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say the House of the Undying, but I think that's something else. Um, there just seemed to be all of these questions that were very easily answered with, well, obviously it's Ned Stark. Or was Ned Stark? Because again, even halfway through that storyline, he takes off that face and he's the weird looking black guy. So the mysteriousness of Jaqen Hagar, I think, added to that theory. I'm curious what you think about this. What do you think about this theory?
Yeah, that's a theory that's been floating around for a long time.
Yeah.
Like there's even people that think that Littlefinger put him down there, or that Varys put him down there. Somebody put the guy in
I've heard the Varys one, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's even some people that think that Bloodraven put him down there, or that the Iron Bank put them down there. They're like revealed to be kind of a player in the later books. Like obviously they would have loan agents and informants and people that would probably know what Littlefinger's game is. Like they're the only people who probably think that they can actually sort out the debts of the kingdom and actually start collecting on them. So that's why they're backing Stannis. Because Stannis is like, we'll open the books and we'll do it, but I got to get the throne because he's anti-corruption. That's Stannis' character. That's why everybody hates him, because he's not going to let the party keep going. But yeah, so that theory's floated around for
spinning.
Sort of, yeah. It's got to spin, but it's not going to spin unjustly. But yeah, so that theory's floated around for a while. The only thing that's wrong with that, like the only thing that's like not that it's not Ned, is because like why? And he must love Arya, right? But like he's got to go save his son in war. Like Robb is leading a war, so like that would be his utmost importance, because Ned is a character who's got battle experience. He's the greatest battle commander in the realm, according to George R.R. Martin, at the time of his death. So he would be like, first thing back would be trying to get to River Run. He'd be like, okay, Arya, like he tried to get her, and then he would be trying to make his way there. So that just because that theory floated around for a while, people are like, well, if it was Ned and he was traveling with the Night's Watch, he would try to get Arya at the first chance and then just take off for the Night's Watch, whereas Jaqen Hagar joins the Lannister cohort. That's how he's able to gain access throughout Harrenhal for Arya.
Unless Ned thinks
that's his armor. See, he's in the Lannister armor.
Right, unless Ned thinks he can end everything in one swoop by getting what's his name? Tywin.
But that's just not Ned's character. That's like the whole thing, is he wouldn't do that. He would meet him in the battlefield, and that would be the person who was proven right.
Well, to be fair, the weakness the weakness of the theory is that running away is not Ned's character, and that's what this is. But it's just enough magic in it that I still have hope, because the books aren't done.
Yeah. There's all kinds of theories about why he was down there, and that he was meant to probably push Arya along and stuff like that. There's a lot of good theories out there about him being why he's down there and what his game is, because he's still theoretically operating down in Old Town now in the books.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so people think it's Jaqen Hagar down there.
Now, Dan, you already know what my number one theory is. But my favorite theory, and the one that's still alive in the books, is that when the dead come south and threaten Winterfell, the Starks of old shall rise again and defend their descendants. I absolutely love that. It's why they're all buried with swords. It's why they're all they all have to have. It's why their likeness is important.
That's why they're supposed to have iron crowns. Like, yeah, dude, it's all there. It's like it should be all there, and they're the Stone Kings of Winter. And there's all these kind of prophecies in the books too, where it's like, you'll wake the stone dragon and stuff like that, and people think that that's in Winterfell, like, because people think that the wall was built after it wasn't built during the war against the others. It was built afterwards, because the final battle was where Winter fell, and at the location of Winterfell. People actually think that the Great Other is like trapped down there, and like that's why like they're supposed to have like an exchange, right? They're supposed to be like Starks going and bringing stuff to the people or the White Walkers, and then they keep their leader or something. I don't know. There's all kinds of theories, but yeah, dude, it's there's a lot that's still up in the air about the tombs of Winterfell.
Yeah, and it's even if you mentioned the whole thing about the dragon earlier because the rooms of Winterfell are warm because of the like deep spring underneath it. Um, there really are so many theories when it comes to the crypts of Winterfell, especially because Martin seems to he never lingers long enough to really explain anything, and it feels like when he does that, he's trying to hide something so that he can bring it up later.
Yeah, and so many characters have brought up the crypts, especially in the latest books.
Yep.
Like there's all kinds of interests. Like Mance Rayder's interested in the crypts. Like Theon knows about the crypts. The crypts were where the Bran and Rickon were hiding, and like this missing crypts, the missing swords from the crypts prove that they were prove the story true that whatever if like Lady Dustin heard like this is where the theories start to like tie together is like the Glovers have an Ironborn boy who hid out during the time when the Boltons killed all the Ironborn and took Winterfell and burned it to the ground. He knows what happened. He knows that Bran and Rickon aren't dead because he saw them escaping a few days later and followed them. And then the Glovers found him and brought him down to White Harbor where Davos meets him. They're like, hey, we got a plan. Like they're saying that Bran and Rickon are alive. So we're going to go and find them. And so that's why when like Lady Dustin wants to go see the crypts of Winterfell, she's with Theon. She's like, Theon, you know this place. Like, you traitor. Like, go show me where the crypts are. So she goes down to the crypts and sees that 2 swords are missing. So it kind of verifies the story by the little Ironborn kids. Like, hey, they had swords with them. So it's pretty. And she's like, oh shit, they might be alive.
Manderley is supposed to have transported Rickon to Skagos, isn't he?
No, because he's the one that wants Davos to go get Rickon.
Right.
He's like,
right.
rumor is like a court.
I thought Manderley sent him there, and now he's telling Davos to go get him.
Well, no. Why would he send him there? He would keep him. Manderley's not stupid. He'd hide him and keep him safe. But
where
better to unpredictable.
Where better to hide than the small islands outside of the normal person's reach.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong there. I think Skagos is a little too unpredictable. Like he would be a little careless if you ask me if he did that. Like he's in the books. He's got a place called the Wolf's Den where he like stores like Davos and stuff. Like that would be a place you would keep Rick in, and he could even become like learned and stuff. Like it's cool. It's cool history. The Wolf's Den used to be like how the Starks would fight off the Valemen that would come and fight against them in that region. And then when the Manderleys came, they were like, hey, you take this area and fight the Vale for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, so there's a lot going on there with the tombs, man. There's all kinds of interest. People think that the tombs connect down far enough down and they go underneath the wall. And there's like tunnels down there.
Underneath the wall or the walls of Winterfell?
The wall, because there's a wildling story of these people who went underground and they were able to navigate all the way down south.
Yes, because there are tunnels underneath the wall, but they're so tricky and treacherous that it's actually dangerous to go.
Yeah, because they're forgotten paths, really.
I forgot about that. Thank you so much for reminding me.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people think they go to the tombs of Winterfell. And the other thing is that's weird too is like they're built from the downward up. So it's like the oldest ones are down at the bottom, whereas like traditionally like the oldest would be at the top and you'd keep digging and adding.
Okay.
So it must have been practical to get down. There must be some reason they went down there and then they started putting like tombs down there. Whereas, because if you were building it for a tomb, you would start at the beginning and then you would add more layers. That's how they build tombs.
Right.
You can't put the oldest at the deepest. You don't know how long it's going to go. Imagine the guy who's like, bury me 1.5 miles down, and then he doesn't have any kids, and it's like, oh well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like why would he do that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Those are my 5 top favorite Game of Thrones theories, and I recommend everyone go watch. If you haven't already watched Dan's video, go watch his video. We've got a bunch more videos coming out soon. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. If you're still here, don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, follow us on Twitter at Kings Advisors _.